All right, okay. Good morning, guys. Can you let me know if you can hear me and see your screen? Yes. Can hear and can see your screen as well? Okay. All right. Hold on. Mm, Okay, so what we'll do, guys, this is just a optional session where if you all have doubts that you all can clear any doubt that you all have from unit number 1. Okay. So you can clear your doubts. You can either send it to me on WhatsApp. You can send it to me on Zoom. If it's a message, I'll type it on Zoom because otherwise I have to log in on to this thing. Maybe if it's a picture or something, maybe you can send it to me on WhatsApp and then tell me that you have sent it on WhatsApp, or else you can unmute yourself and ask your question also. So make sure that whatever questions that you have from unit number 1 that you clarify. So based on the order of questions that I get, I'll start answering. So others also stay, guys, until the others' questions are also answered. Because now your question also could be the same as the question that someone else has, right? So little by little, once all of that is answered, probably your question will also be answered. That's why I record it also. Because some people might have the same question. So you can send in your questions. In case you'll have sent it on WhatsApp, just let me know that you have sent it on WhatsApp here. Excellent PPC according situations given. Which situations? Do you have any specific situations that you want me to explain? Okay, right. So if you all have any related to, okay, there were a few PPC related questions, guys. If you have any PPC related questions, how do you show this? How do you show that? What does this mean? What does that mean? Right? See if you all can send those across. Until that, there is a whiteboard here. I'll try to use this. There is a whiteboard in Zoom. I haven't used it, but let me try to use something like this. You'll see some whiteboard, yes, being shared. Yes, you'll see a whiteboard. Right. We do, right? All right, nice. Okay. Because I'm using this for the first time. There is some option in Zoom now. There is a nice whiteboard also, so I want to try that. Okay. The person who asked me for about different situations on a PPC, any specific situation that you want me to explain, or is it in general? Right. So listen to this story, right, of a PPC. It's a very simple story, right? Try to understand the logic behind it, right? So try to understand what is the whole meaning behind this. Then you will be able to figure out whatever situations that come, right? So what is a PPC showing us, right? A PPC will show us, okay, the, for two goods, right? So let's say good, they assume that a country is producing only two goods. Let's say good X and good Y. Or let's say capital goods, consumer goods, anything. The countries, they make an assumption because these are all economic theories, right? So economic theories come with all assumptions, right? It's very simplified compared to what is in the real world. These theories are highly simplified. So on this case, we'll assume that a country makes only two goods. That is good X and good Y. Now, a country has certain amount of resources, right? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Now, for example, let's say, right, a country has certain resources, right? Let's say the amount of resources it has is, let's say it has land, let's say it has 100 units of land. Labor, let's say there are 50 people who are willing to work. Capital, let's say there is, I don't know, they have another 50 machines. Let's say entrepreneurship, they have, I don't know, let's say 25 entrepreneurs in the country. So with this given amount of resources, there are different combinations of goods that they can make. Now they only have limited amount of resources. They don't have unlimited land, labor, capital. So based on this amount of resources, I'm just taking these numbers as an example, right? So based on these numbers, right? So they have different combinations of X and Y, right? So maybe if they produce nothing, right, 0 of x, okay, we'll say, okay, 0 of x, they can use all their resources to produce y. Okay, so in that case, let's say they can produce 200 units of y. Okay, now if they increase, let's say, x by 10, what do you think happened to the production of y, guys? What do you think happens here? Now, with the amount of resources, earlier you produced 0x, 200y. Okay, now you increase the production of x. What happens to the production of y? Does it increase, remain the same, or decrease? The production of y should, with the amount of resources you have, exactly, it has to decrease now, right? Because if you have now allocated some resources to produce x, now let's say you can only produce, let's say, 190 y. Let's say you're increasing x by another 20, right? So another 10. So when you increase this again, now let's say y you can only produce, let's say, 170, right? You increase x a little bit more. Now let's say you can only produce 140. Yeah, let's say you increase x even more, right? Now let's say you can only produce, let's say, 90. Yeah, so likewise, what happens every time you're going to increase the production of one good, the production of the other good will fall. That is because why? That is because you have what? You have limited resources. No, your land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship is limited, right? Because of the fact that there is scarcity, right? Whenever you're going to increase the production of one good, the production of the other good is going to fall off. So this scenario, if I plot it into a graph, right, then you will get something like this. You will get a PPC. So if you look at it right now, let's say first you are producing 0 units of x, 200 by. So you are producing, let's say, at this point initial. Then you increased x by 10. So then 10, and let's say this you are at this point, right? Then x is 20, right? Then you are at this point, let's say. And now my graph might not be the most accurate graph, but try to understand the logic behind it. So in that context, right, okay, so in that context, guys, right, now practically think and tell me, right, if this country, right, if this country is to make sure, right, that they can produce more than this, what do you think should happen, right? For them to be able to put, now this is the different combinations with the amount of resources they have, right? With the amount of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship they have, these are the amount of combinations they can produce, either this much of this much of this. So if this combination is to increase, right, what is the most obvious thing that can happen? The most obvious thing that can happen is, right, if you are to be able to, let's say, now produce more, right, if you are to increase this combination, right, if you are to able to, let's say, produce, now earlier, let's say you were producing 100, but now if you are to produce, let's say, 150 and 150, right, one obvious thing that can happen is, right, the amount of resources you have in the country would have gone up, right? So if the amount of resources that you have in the country has gone up, then you can produce more, no? You can produce a higher combination. So that is where we come to the determinants of a PPC, right? Determinants of a PPC are what? Determinants of a PPC. So number one, what is the PPC showing us? The maximum possible combinations, right, of two different goods, the maximum possible combination. So determinant number one is what? Is your factor endowment. Factor endowment in very simple terms means how much of factors of production you have. So the amount of land, the amount of right, amount of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, right? So if the amount of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship you have, right, increases. Now remember, in your A-level paper, they are not going to directly say land is increasing, labor is increasing. No, right? Now, for example, let's say what is land? Land is a natural resource. So they will give an example. They will say, okay, let's say Sri Lanka finds a new oil deposit in Mana, right? Now, oil deposit, you need to know, okay, natural resource, land, right? So when we find a new oil deposit, our land is going up. Now PPC is shifting outwards. Or maybe they can talk about labor. They can say, okay, because of COVID-19, the labor force in the country has fallen. Okay, labor is going down now. PPC shifting inwards. So based on that, right, whenever one of these is affected, the factor endowment, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, right, whenever any of these is affected, if it's favorably affected, if it's increasing, PPC will shift out. If it is decreasing, PPC will shift in, because the more land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship you have, the better combination you can produce. Now you can produce more and more goods now, right? But if your land, labor, and capital entrepreneurship has fallen, now you can only produce a very little goods. Does that make sense? Yes, factor endowment. So capital, they can say, Sri Lanka imports new machines from abroad, right? They can say, different things. Fine. Those who add the PPC question. Okay, so that's one reason where your PPC can shift, right? Apart from this, right? Apart from the factor endowment, that is entrepreneurship, they don't really question much, but let's say, for example, they can say, the country has, let's say, the government of Sri Lanka has started, let's say, a special program to uplift entrepreneurs, or they have started a special program for related to entrepreneurship, something that will increase the amount of entrepreneurs that is there. Yeah, so that is there. Okay, now, so in case, again, now these are the factors of production, right? So if these factors of production increases, right, your PPC will shift right. No, you can produce more. If it decreases, PPC shifts left, you can only produce less. Your second factor, guys, is what? Is your factor productivity, right? It's not only, right? It's not only the amount of factors you have, guys, right? Now, for example, compare, let's say, Sri Lanka with a country like Japan, right? Now, Japan is a much smaller country than Sri Lanka also, right? If you take land area wise, I think they are much smaller country. Okay. Even the population in Japan is much lesser than the population in Sri Lanka. I'm not very sure, but okay, we'll take New Zealand. Okay. So if you take New Zealand as a country, okay, land area they might be bigger, but population wise they are less, right? Okay, so they have very little labor force. But if you compare the two countries, let's say Sri Lanka and New Zealand, why do you think New Zealand is such a developed country, right? Even though let's assume that they have lesser land, labor, capital on. Okay, better example. Let's take Singapore, right? So if you take Singapore, right, a very small country, right, with not much land area, they don't have any resources like forests, nothing like that. Even labor is very small, right? But how are they much more developed than Sri Lanka? How are they able to produce much more goods than Sri Lanka, right? So it's not just the factor endowment, it's just not just the number of resources you have. In addition to the number of resources, it's also the productivity of your resources, guys. So the productivity of resources depends on your technology, right? So maybe Singapore, why they are able to have a, let's say, a much bigger PPC than Sri Lanka, or much, they are able to produce much more than Sri Lanka, is maybe because they have very developed technology, right? And then maybe they are human capital. Now, what is human capital? The knowledge, the experience, the skills, right, that the people have. No? So maybe in their country, right, even though they have little labor, that little labor is highly trained. They're very high experience. They're very motivated, right? So their human capital might be high. Maybe the management methods used, right? Now in Sri Lanka, our managers are not even doing anything. They're not even motivating our employees, not doing it. But maybe in those countries, right, they have proper pay structures, right? The management is nicely overlooking the employees and, trying to get the best use of them, right? Maybe they're working as teams, right? So their productivity is high. Right? So maybe different things like that. Maybe the management methods practiced in that country is higher. And also, maybe those countries are practicing things like division of labor and specialization. So you all know when you practice division of labor and specialization, you get even better. So again, right, factors like this, right, not just your land labor capital entrepreneurship, but also your productivity, right? If your technology, human capital, right, management, if these also improve, then again, right, you need to realize that what is happening is what I'm writing in the board is not visible. No, I know I'm trying this board like for the first time. Did you all see things written on a board? Yeah. But you'll only see a white screen. Okay, some are saying visible, some are saying not visible. Not very sure. For the person who is not visible, can you see if you can leave and join? I think it's visible for everyone. Okay. That is also worried after me explaining so much if it's not there. Maybe the connection. Yeah, try leaving and joining. I think you should be able to see. Okay. In case still it's not visible, let me know. Okay. Now okay, fine, perfect. Right. Okay, so whenever one of these guys, whenever the determinants of a PPC, right? Whenever one of these changes, maybe it goes up or maybe it goes down, only then your PPC will shift, guys, right? So let's say now, remember I told you in your A-level paper, guys, they will not directly tell land increase. They will not directly tell labor increase. They will not directly tell human capital increase. Maybe they can say, now, what is human capital? Knowledge, skills, experience that people have. Maybe they can say, okay, they can give an example for human capital and they can say, okay, look here, now the government is providing training for all of its employees. Or let's say the private sector is providing all training. Or they can say for management methods, they can say, okay, now what? Companies in Sri Lanka have updated their management methods and have motivated their employees. Something, right? Something you should be able to connect. This is what they're talking about. So when things like that happen, right, you need to realize, look here, now we can produce more. So your PPC will start to shift. So if one of these increases, PPC shifts outwards because you can now produce a better combination. Or let's say if one of these decreases, then your PPC will shift inwards. Then you will be only able to produce a lesser combination. So only for these reasons, guys, right? Only for these reasons, the PPC will shift, right? If your factor endowment or your factor productivity changes. For any other reason, your PPC doesn't shift, guys, right? Now, a good example that comes is unemployment, right? Now, does unemployment mean that your labor is falling? No, no, guys. Unemployment does not mean your labor, even you can take capital also, right? Your machines, right, being unemployed, that means your machines being idle. Does that mean your labor and capital resources are falling? No, right? It means you still have the same labor and capital, but now you're not using them. So you can't shift the PPC. So only if the labor, land, labor capital, entrepreneurship or the productive changes, only there is a shift. So in general terms, if you take something like unemployment, right? Unemployment is simply the resource is still there, right? That has not gone anywhere. No. Resource is still there. We can make use of it, but we are not making use of it. So that is why we show that with an arrow inside. Yeah, the resource is not destroyed, it's still there. But maybe if they say, if we increase the utilization of resources, then you show it other way, the opposite of unemployment, right? You're moving towards the PPC now. Yeah, if we say increase in utilization of resources, that does not mean you're getting new resources. That means you have the resources, now you're utilizing them more. Yeah, that way. So those are the kind of things. Now PPC, for you all to master it, guys, what you all need to ideally do is I think I did a free session on this also for the 2023 batch. I'll see if I have that recording. I can't remember if I uploaded it somewhere or not. Right. In case I find it, maybe I'll send it across also. But in very simple terms, guys, to figure out PPC, okay, get the logic, get the whole, what is a PPC showing you, right? Learn the determinants, the productivity, and then you have to practice questions, guys. The more questions you practice, the more familiar you become with the situations. You can't memorize 1,000 situations and you can't go and write. Yeah. So that has to come with practice and understanding the logic. Now there is no way that you can memorize 1,000 situations. Okay, this happens, okay, shift inward, this happens, shift out, this happens, this happens, that. You can't do that, right? So you understand the logic, practice as many as questions, then you should be able to figure it out. Shape. Is anyone else PPC questions? Okay, so now for example, okay, now if you're changing resources, right? Now for example, let's say right now you're producing okay. So let's say right now you're producing this combination. You're producing 10 and 190, right? So let's say this is the combination that you're producing right now. You are utilizing some land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. But now let's say from the what? From industry X, you're switching some resources. You're changing some resources from X to let's say Y to X. You're allocating more resources to X. Then what is happening? So then X is increasing, right? 10 became 20, Y is going to 170. So what you can show is right now you are in this combination. So because the fact that you switched resources, now you go into this combination. So show that with a proper diagram, right? So that, okay, look here, now you're going from here to here. That's how you can show a shift in resources. Okay. Is anyone else PPC questions? If you'll have sent it to me on WhatsApp, okay, fine. Fast track you put 2 question mark on 5. Fast track, the fast track situations I did explain in class, and if you have missed the class, then you can watch the recording. If the what things that you did not understand what I talked about, then I'll explain. If you missed, you can watch the recording, right? Because I explained all those 4 situations and I gave you all the answers also. Okay. So change in productivity, yes. So now even the change in productivity will affect your PPC. If your productivity increases or decreases, your PPC will shift, right? Now, if you have better technology, now you can produce more. PPC shifts outwards, right? If your human capital has improved, if they provide training, again PPC will shift outwards. So remember, if any of these determinants change, the PPC will start to shift. Yeah, factor productivity and your factor endowment. Endowment means how much of factors you have. Okay, there is a question. Question 28. So this is from my list. Hold on. At 28 or 29? Okay, wait. I can't have an image here. Give me 1 second. Increase in technology only in one product. So if there's an increase in technology in only one product, okay, so then, okay, good question. So then only the PPC of that side will change. Now, for example, let's say there is this, right? So let's say what, now this is X and let's say this is Y. So let's say only for the Y industry, we have got new machines, right? So then only Y we should be able to produce more, right? So earlier, let's say we can produce this much of X and this much of Y. Let's say 5X and 5Y, right? But because of the fact that now the technology in Y has improved, now you can produce, let's say how much? Let's say you can produce, yeah, I'm drawing. Can you see something? No? You'll see a small diagram I'm drawing, no? Is it not loading? Can see, right? So now same thing, right? So let's say you're producing 5, you can only produce 5X, and let's say now you can produce 10Y, right? So why is that? Because the technology in Y has improved, Okay, that's the basic story about PPC. Okay, there is a 28 and a 29. Marginal cost. Okay. That drawing is not visible. Is it fine now? No, sir. I was this was what I was drawing, guys. This thing that was here. Here is the whole problem, no? Some people can see, some people can't see. No. Okay, I'll okay, remember, so if it's a technological improvement only in one industry, it's a shift in the PPC only in that industry, right? So there was a question in one of our past papers also, or past papers in our fast track questions also relating to that. Okay, guys, okay, hold on. Let me close this whiteboard. There was some other questions. Right, question 28 and give me a second, let me download these other pictures that you have sent. Okay, on. Okay, there was one question here. Okay, so there was one question one of you all sent. Sorry, this. Yeah. Okay, this was one of the questions that one of you all sent. Following two questions refer the diagram below, which illustrates the PPF for a producer of two goods, X and Y. Right? Because you can see a question, right? Yes. If different people can't see at different times. Can you? Okay, right. So which of the following statements is true? Okay, so they have given a PPC, they have given a increasing opportunity cost PPC, right? So guys, here when you're talking about marginal cost, we're talking about marginal opportunity cost, okay? Right? So, okay, we'll look into this. The marginal cost of producing X is higher at high levels of X than it is at lower levels of X. Now, what is this, guys? Now, for example, think, right? So let's say you're producing X1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, and okay, 6 and 7, right? So when you're producing 1X, right now, this is increasing opportunity cost now, guys. So I need to realize, right? When you're producing 1X, let's say you have to give up only 1Y, small amount. Now, when you produce a second unit of X, right? Now you have to give up a little bit more than that. And then when you're producing, let's say now this and this, the more and more units of X, now your opportunity cost is higher. Right now, I'm hoping you all have some idea about opportunity cost. So when you're producing more and more and more of X, what is happening to your opportunity cost? The amount of Y that you have to give up increases, right? So the marginal cost of producing X, the marginal cost means the marginal opportunity cost, right? The additional opportunity cost is higher at high levels of X than at low levels of X. So lower levels of X means, let's say you're producing 1 or 2 units. So whenever you're producing 1 or 2 units, the opportunity cost is lesser than the opportunity cost when you're producing, let's say, 5 or 6 units, right? So yes, you'll understand that statement is correct. Marginal cost and incremental cost. Yeah, so marginal means additional. So here we're talking about the marginal opportunity cost. Without being said, when we're talking about marginal cost in terms of a PPC, we're talking about marginal opportunity cost. Is that okay, guys? Do you all understand that part? Shape others also. Yeah, the more and more you produce, that's there. Okay. And then okay, we have statement number 2. Marginal cost of producing Y is higher at higher levels of Y than at lower levels. Again, the same thing, the opposite way, right? So if you're going with yes. So we're talking about a PPC of increasing opportunity cost. So it's a concave PPC. Yeah. So again, when you're producing Y, now let's say 1 unit of Y right? You have to give up only this much of x, right? Let's say 2 units of y, you have to give up this much of x, right? But then if you're producing, let's say, third unit of y, now you have to give up, let's say, more units of x. So the more and more y you produce, again the opportunity cost increases, right? So then again your statement number 2 is also correct. The marginal opportunity cost of producing y is higher at higher levels of y. Remember, increasing opportunity cost is what? The more and more you're producing of a unit, the opportunity cost increases, right? Now, remember, always remember, guys, when they say marginal cost, right, and give a story about a PPC, they're talking about marginal opportunity cost. Yeah, that is what they're talking about. And then the third one says marginal cost of producing both x and y is constant. No, this is not constant opportunity cost. Remember, this is marginal opportunity cost, right? Is it constant? No, this is a concave PPC, right? It's an increasing opportunity. So statement number 3 is wrong. 1 and 2 is correct. So you end up with answer number 4. Sip. Yes. Yes, I'll come to question. PPC. Okay, hold on. Fine. Whoever asked me that question. Okay. Then coming into the next question that coming from the same person. Okay. So next question is saying that if the economy is operating at point A, which of the following statements is true? Where is point A? Okay, so point A is a point inside the PPC, right? So it's like a point that represents unemployment. Okay, right. So the opportunity cost of producing more X is 0. The opportunity cost of producing more Y is 0. Point A is inefficient. Now, remember, now if you are at point A, you can increase the production of Y, you can increase the production of X, right? So now you are at here, right? So you can go to this level, right? But you can increase X also, you can increase Y also without sacrificing anything, no? Yeah. Now remember, opportunity cost comes when you sacrifice something. So you can increase X and Y both without sacrificing anything here. So then you can say opportunity cost of producing more Y is also 0. Opportunity cost of producing X is also 0. So both those statements, right? Statement number 1 is also correct. Opportunity cost of producing X is 0. You don't have to sacrifice anything. Opportunity cost of producing more Y is also 0. You don't have to sacrifice anything. And point A is inefficient. That is also correct, no? Right? So inefficient means you're not utilizing your resources fully. So point A represents unemployment, right? So you can say that, look here, it's inefficient. So then your answer becomes 1, 2, and 3. Set, sorted. Anyone else, guys? PPC questions? Yes, 3 situations, 0 opportunity cost. How come? Hold on. Any other questions? PPC. Okay, there's one here. Okay, there's one from Shahana. Hold on. PPC. Okay, there is one question here. Okay, I'll look into this. International trade on a PPC, we learned that when it comes to unit number 9, because that's a whole different thing, guys. This CPC and PPC. But in basic terms, remember, because of international trade, you can consume outside your production possibility curve. We learned that as a whole new area in unit number 9. Okay, so I'll not touch too much on that. But remember now, because you import, export, and all of that, you can consume outside your PPC. Okay, so there's a question. We'll try this. Okay, hoping this is a PPC question. Okay, so on this end, right? Okay, 600 homogeneous labor are efficiently engaged in the production at fixed opportunity cost of a particular economy. I guess fixed opportunity cost means constant opportunity cost. And so you're talking about a straight line PPC. Okay, the number of laborers who employed in X production are 400, while in Y production are 200. So there are 600 people, 400 working in one, 200 working in another. A labor can produce 1 unit of X or 2 units of Y. If 100 laborers are employed in X, production have emigrated. What do you think happens? Okay, nice question. Find some space. Okay, hold on. Mm, okay, right. So we'll understand this question. We'll try to do this together. Now there is two goods, right? So you have the production of X, you have the production of Y. Okay, the country has 600 labor units. Okay, from the 600, the question is saying in the third line, you can see 400 people are used to produce Y, 400 labor units, right? 400 labor units are used to produce Y. No, 400 is used to produce X, and then 200 labor units are used to produce Y. Okay, and then they're saying a labor can produce 1 unit of X, right? So one person can produce 1 unit of X means, so then if 400 people are there, they can produce 400 units of X. And Y now, they can produce, one person can produce 2. So then if 200 people are there, again, they can produce 400 units because one person can produce 2 of Y. Okay. Okay. So in this context, now let's say we'll draw a PPC, right? Okay. Now you add a PPC, let's say 400. Okay. So now they're saying if 100 laborers, okay, who are employed in X production has emigrated. Now, what is emigrated? Are they going out or are they coming in? Emigrated. What's the difference between immigration and emigration? Wait, I will show you it. What's emigrated? Remember, emigrated is where you're living out, guys, right? Emigration, when it comes with the E, right? It's where you're going out of the country. Immigration, I, that is coming in, unless they're specifically said inward, outward, right? Emigration, E, I'll type this, right? So emigration, right? Emigration is where people are going out of the country, out, right? Immigration, right, is where people are coming into the country. Now think, okay, sorry, fixed opportunity cost, no? Okay, sorry, let me draw a straight line PPC. Okay, so we have a straight line PPC, assume a straight line PPC, that's also fine. Okay. So if 100 labor units who are employed in X production have emigrated, so we'll go through the options and see. Okay. Option 1 says production possibility curve partially shifts to the right from X. Okay. Think practically, guys. Right now, what is happening? Your labor resource is decreasing, right? But your labor resource is decreasing only for one. Okay. Okay. Think. Labor is falling, guys. What should happen to the PPC? Your labor, some people that were there, now you all know the determinants of PPC now, right? Your labor has fallen. What happens to your PPC now? It has to shift inward, right? Now keep that in mind, right? You all know if your labor falls, PPC have to shift. Fine. Now labor is falling. Is it falling in both the industries? No. So can your shift affect the production of both? No, right? It has to only affect the X industry. So ideally, right, how your PP, now this is a straight line PPC, it will shift is like this. Yeah. So you can produce the same units of Y, but now the amounts of X you can produce is less. So there will be a leftward, right, an inward shift of your PPC. Just have that in mind. So we'll just go through the, remember, this is connected to units also. It's a good question, right? So 100 labor units. Okay. The production possibility curve partially shifts to the right from X industry. No, you can't shift to the right from X industry. It has to be left. So that's wrong. Okay. Production possibility curve shifts left to the in from both axis, but output of Y remains unchanged. Production possibility curve shift to the in from. Okay, this is a little loud, but let me try to figure it. What they're saying, production possibility curve shift to the in from. Shift to the in. Okay, in from both axes, but output of Y remains unchanged. No, it doesn't shift to the in from both the others. We'll see. Production is inefficient due to economic recession. No. Now, they're not talking about unemployment. They're talking about people leaving and going. So not this again. Although the production possibility curve shift to the in from x-axis, output of x-axis remain unchanged. No, that will fall. Although the potential output of both x and y industry is reduced, the actual output remains unchanged. There is no clear answer on the production possibility curve shifts to the in from both axes. But the output of y remains unchanged. Output of y remains unchanged part is correct, right? Shift in part is correct, but here when they're talking about from both the axes, that is where I have the question employed in x production. Potential output x and y is reduced. The actual output remains unchanged. Do you have like a correct answer for this? I feel there is no correct answer in any. None of the answers are correct. Yeah, so what is ideally the answer has to be where your x, the production of x is decreasing, right? So where your PPC is shifting inwards for the production of x, and now the amount of x that you can produce has fallen, right? So in this also, this is clear, right? The output of y remains unchanged, fine. So y doesn't change because y has not affected, fine. PPC shifting in, fine, right? But this from both the axis part is the problem. Now it will not shift from both the axes because they have only said laborers who are employed in the X production have emigrated. Yeah. So now let's say, okay, let's say X is engineers, right? And let's say Y is people who are bakers, chefs, right? Let's say engineers are producing cars, these people are producing buns. So if the engineers go from the country, right, the production of buns will not fall. The production of vehicles might fall. So only that industry has to be affected. So this from both axis part is a little questionable. Just check with your teacher, whoever gave the question, but I'm hoping you understood the story. Check. Yes, only from X it has to shift inwards. Okay. Is anything else? Any other PPC questions? I'll finish all the PPC ones and come to the others. So then it's easier. There's another question here. Yeah, hold on. Question. Okay, this question a little unclear on your picture, but let's see. Which the following is caused to shift the production possibility curve out? Okay, so shift out means a rightward shift. So either the factor endowment has to change or the productivity has to change. Okay. Actual output exceeding the potential output due to an increase in aggregate demand? No. Reducing the minimum age level that can employ? Okay, looks correct. Labor are shifting their present employment that earning low income to jobs which suit their education and training. Half correct, but there's a better answer. Increase in demand from foreign countries for domestic products? No, that is going to reduce unemployment. Shifting the production activities from inefficient to efficient. Okay, so answer should be number 2. Is your marking scheme also saying 2? Yes, I know. Yeah, okay, right. So then shifting the production activities from inefficient situation to efficient situation is where you were earlier unemployed. Now you're going towards the PPC. That is what? Number 5. Okay. Labor are shifting their present employment that's earning low income to suit their education training. So now let's say earlier I was this situation of underemployment, right? Let's say I get my degree and I do all of it, but I am working in a small job that that is photocopying let's say tubes, right? That is my job. But with my degree and with my experience, I can do a better job, no? So I am quitting that job and now I'm looking for a better job. So this is a situation of underemployment. So earlier you were at this situation, right? Now because people are moving to better jobs, more productivity. Now this is not really a productivity increase. You're utilizing your existing productivity, right? So you move towards the PPC again. That is also number 3. Okay. So number 1 and number 3 is a little out. That is different stories. So number 2, reducing the minimum age level. Now what is your this thing? Your labor force. Labor force is the physical and mental efforts of your people, no? Right? So now in a country, let's say Sri Lanka, from let's say 18 years to 60 years, you can work. So then there is amount of people falling in that category, right? Now, if you reduce the age, let's say now you can start working from 15 and you can work until 60, or let's say they have increased the retirement age to 65, then what happens? Now there is more people in the labor force, right? People of the age of 15, 16, 17 also gets added to this. So more physical and mental effort, more labor. What happens? When your labor increases, your PPC will shift to the right. So if you reduce the minimum age, your labor force increases. Now there is more people who can work. PPC is right. Fine, stay. Get a nice question. Okay. Anyone else, guys? PPC questions that I have missed? Because if you have sent on WhatsApp on a PPC question, let me know. I don't want to open anything. Yeah, fine. I guess if that is it with, okay, there is one more PPC question. Hold on. Second. Good questions. And nice to see you all. The fact that you all are having questions means you all have actually started studying. Otherwise, you all never have questions. So that's a nice thing to see. Because if you never study or if you never went through the tutes, now I saw one person had these questions from my theory tute that I gave. So meaning you have gone through that. Okay. Okay, there is question number 3 here. Okay, the following diagram shows the production possibility curve of a country, right? So they have given A and B. So remember, this is like a situation where remember even in one of my past paper, not in my past paper, in my fast track question, there was a question like this, right? What do you think is happening here, guys? It's only affecting one industry. What industry is it affecting? Agriculture or industrial? What industry is affecting? Only the agriculture, no? So earlier you were able to produce, let's say 50 of this and let's say 50 of this, but now you can produce more of agriculture. So what has happened? The unemployment in the agricultural industry has declined. No? Yes, in my case was motor vehicle and my was the unemployment was increasing. Yeah. So here what can you say? So you can say resource utilization has declined in the agricultural production. No. Unemployment declined in industrial production. No. Unemployment decreased in the agricultural production. Yes. So now in the agricultural production sector, the unemployment has fallen. So now the industrial listing has not changed, but now you're producing more agriculture, meaning now you're employing more people, you're using more machines. Yeah. There's economic growth. No. The resource utilization level increase in industrial production. No. Fine, shape. Answer number 3. Very similar to the question that I had in my second paper. Fine. Yes. The person who had the question, shape. Questions, problems. Yes. Fine, right? Anyone has a doubt? Anyone has a problem issue? Okay. So in very simple terms, guys, now again following with the question that I had in my paper, right? So if you were there on Thursday, right? My paper, I said there is unemployment only in one industry, right? So I showed it by a parallel shift like this. You're going from here to here. So only this industries what there has been unemployment. Usually when you show unemployment, it's a shift like it's a point like this. No, but why am I drawing a parallel line to say that look here, right? The production of now, let's say this is X and this is Y. Let's say you are producing 10 and 10, right? So they say unemployment in the production of X, right? So then, sorry, unemployment in the production of Y. So then only the Y industry has to change, no? Now this only has fallen. The same thing, the opposite is happening in this question. Now in this question, what is happening? See, in this question, earlier you were at point A, right? So you were producing 50 of agriculture, let's say 10 of industrial products. But now, because of you utilizing your resources more only in the agricultural production industry, your industrial production has not changed, it's still 10, but your agricultural production has gone to 120. That has gone up. So that is what has happened. So that's answer number 3. Okay. Unemployment has declined only in the agricultural production. Now, if unemployment has declined in both, then your B point will be somewhere around here. Yeah. If your unemployment has decreased only in the industrial production, then your B point has to be a parallel shift here. Yeah. So That is what is the good question. Fine. Same. 3 series of 0 opportunity cost, I'll come there. That's a little bit outside PPC. Okay. Same here. No other PPC questions. Fine. Now you're all PPC experts, I'm assuming. Just I explained the theory. We did a few questions. You also practice, guys. Practice more and more questions, right? More and more questions, keep practicing. And even now in the fast track, I'm there with you all on the group, and all of it you all can check, right? And then even if you all have doubts after the next class, we can clarify. Okay, right. So if that is the case, we'll move on to what? Any other questions you all have? Hold on. Okay, so I'll go with the order that these questions came. Right. PPC came. Okay. Okay. There was a difference between market and capitalist. Market and capitalist again are not the same. I remember it's there on my cute, right? When you're talking about market economies and capitalist economies, now the features might look the same, but okay, I will show you a market economic system and a capitalist economic system. Again, not the same. The difference comes based on this, right? Based on what? Those 3 criteria that we use. Remember this one here. Even in my fast track tube, there should be something there. Classifying economic systems. There are 3 criteria, right? So if the economy based on decision coordination mechanism, if the economy is using price mechanism, it's called a market economic system, right? If the economy is using planning mechanism, then it's a command economic system, right? Then this capitalist socialist comes based on this, based on the ownership of resources. So if resources are owned by the private sector, we call it a capitalist. If it's owned by the government, it's called a socialist. So usually, if the economy uses price mechanism, resources are owned by the private sector, usually, but not always, right? Remember, we discussed a past paper also in Beyond the Classroom. Sometimes, yes, price mechanism, usually private sector. So then the market economy is also a capitalist, but not always. There can be a market economy, right, which uses price mechanism, but the resources are owned by the government. Yeah? So you can't necessarily say that market and capitalist means same. It comes based on 2 different scenarios. Okay. Set the person who had that question. Fact endowment resource stock is the same. Okay, right. Because I'm going in the order of my Zoom chapter. Okay. Let's see if there is anything that I missed. Okay. Functions of price. Okay. Functions of price person. Are you here? Yes. There was another person who had the functions of price question. Yes. Functions of price. Functions of profit, they're not really going to ask. I don't think that is really there in your syllabus and all of that. Functions of price person, not here. Go on. Scarcity is a microeconomic concept because you're only focusing on a PPC, you're only focusing about 2 goods, right? Yes, function of price, no one has the question. The person, because I had one in the question chat box, that person's gone. Okay, so I'm skipping that. Okay. Right. I'm going on the order of the questions. Functions of price, entrepreneur. MCQ, which asks about which factor of production were changed. Okay, there was an MCQ. Hold on. Check this one. Yeah. Okay, so this MCQ. Okay, Rina makes a living by selling paintings of a town in which she lives. She sells them in a open air market once a week. In order to be able to sell more pictures in a week, she decides to buy a studio, right? Pay someone to help in the studio and try to increase demand by advertising in the local paper. Okay, so one thing is earlier she was selling in an open air market, right? So she was selling somewhere else, and now what is happening? She's got a studio. So what is a studio? It's capital, right? So she's now getting more capital into her business, right? And then earlier she was like the only one working. Now she has paid someone to get help in her studio. So she's getting more physical and mental efforts from someone. So then that is labor going up, right? So which factors of production were changed? You can say capital and labor. Is that your answer? I don't know. Just check. If you have an answer, that should be your answer. Okay. Studio is capital. Getting someone's help is labor. Has gone up. Okay. Right. Hold on. I'm coming question by question by question by question. Right. Okay. I'll come to this thing. Okay. Term test for MCQs to verify outcome. Fast track Q. Paper 2 question 5. Okay, so just to show the questions that were there in my fast track tute, right? So if you have figured out those situations, answers, what's the page? The ones that were there in my, I think in paper 2, I gave some examples. See, now in my number 1, there is unemployment in the software industry. That's easy, you know. So you have motor vehicle parts, you have computer software. This is the same question that I was talking about. So earlier you were at, let's say at this point, you were producing, let's say 10 computer software, 10 vehicles. But now there is unemployment in the software industry. So only a parallel shift like that, right? Only in the software industry, the production would have fallen. Now, motor vehicle parts shouldn't have changed because why? There is only an increase in unemployment in the computer software industry. That's why I'm shifting it that way. That's the first one that was there in my paper. Then the second one is the shift of resources from motor vehicle parts to computer software. So let's say you were producing at this point. Now, when you shift resources from motor vehicle parts to computer software production increases, motor vehicle parts production decreases. So you're going that way. So that's number 2. In case they say the opposite, they say shift of resource from this to this, so you need to show that the production of one good is increasing. That's what you need to show. Okay. Then here, increase in productivity of the motor vehicle part industry. So maybe the technology has developed or something. So the productivity of motor vehicle parts have improved. So now see earlier, let's say you were producing at this point, let's say you're producing 10 and 10, but now because the productivity is increased, the PPC only in the motor vehicle parts industry will go up. So now you can produce more motor vehicle parts. Let's say you can produce 12, but your computer software amount has not changed. Yes, that has not affected this because you get productivity in the motor vehicle part industry. Your software can't change. Okay. And then the final situation is a depression. So what is happening in depression? Depression is a long-term recession. So in an economic depression, what happens? The labor, the capital and all starts to get destroyed, right? So your labor capital getting destroyed means your factor endowment is decreasing. So PPC is shifting inwards. Those are the 4 situations that was there on my paper. Yes, I'll put the marking scheme case on. Social and socialist, I'll come, hold on. Okay, then there was the situations where opportunity cost is 0. Let me share that. So someone had a question on that. The situations where the opportunity cost is 0. Okay, so there are 3 situations, right, where opportunity cost is 0. Now, why is that opportunity cost? You need to realize that first, right? Opportunity cost comes because you have to make a choice. The moment you choose one option, right, you have to forego another one. Then only an opportunity cost comes, right? So now see, when there are unlimited resources, right? When there are unlimited resources, do you have to make a choice? There is no choice, no guys. You can do everything you want. You can do this also, you can do that also, you can do anything. So is there an opportunity cost then? No. For example, like sunlight, there is unlimited amount of sunlight available. No. So whether you can dry your clothes also, you can, let's say, produce salt also, you can, if you want, go sunbathe in the sun also, no problem, right? So just because you do one, you will not give up something else. Why? Because there's unlimited amount of sunlight, right? So the moment you have unlimited resources, right, there is no choice. As a result, there is no opportunity cost. So see, because of the existence of non-economic, these non-economic resources and non-economic goods are the ones that is unlimited. So then there is no opportunity cost. Number two, absence of alternative uses. Now, this thing I give is a ship anchor, right? So what can you do with a ship anchor, right? The only purpose of a ship anchor, right, is when the ship comes to the shore, right, when it comes closer, to put it and keep so that the ship doesn't move, right? That is the only purpose. So when you're using the ship anchor, do you have a choice? I can use the ship anchor for this, I can use it for something else. Do you have a choice there? You don't, right? The only option you have is, okay, either I put this or I just keep it, right? So just because you use that ship anchor to let's say what, put it into the sea and make sure the ship doesn't move, there is no opportunity cost again. Remember, always opportunity cost comes when you make a decision and you have to give up something else, right? So when your option has only one alternative use, now for example, let's say what else we can say, okay, let's say you have a radio, right? So you have a radio, the only use of that radio is to play the radio, right? Let's say not this big not these big modified radios where you can put CDs and pen drives. Let's say a traditional normal radio, FM radio. Okay, the only option is where you can play some music. So just because you play that music, right, is there an opportunity cost? No. Do you have to give up something else? No. But let's say your phone, let's say you play some music in your phone, then there's an opportunity cost. So instead of that, you could have played a movie, you could have played some game in your phone, you could have texted someone, but you decided to play that. No, right? So when there is no alternative uses, right, like a ship anchor or like a FM radio, we'll say, right, just because you make use of it, there will not be an opportunity cost. You're not giving something else up, right? And then number three is when there is unemployed resources, right? So let's assume the whatever laptop or phone that you have logged in right now, okay, before employing it this for this class, before coming and using it for this class, it was locked and kept in your almara, right? So it was in your almara, it was just locked and kept. Let's say your laptop was locked and kept in your almara, no one was using it, right? So no one was using it, just put in the box and kept. But for this class, you took it out and now you came for the class, right? So in that case, is there an opportunity cost? No, no. Are you giving up something? No, it was just there, no, just unemployed and there. But let's say this was your general laptop that your sister, your brother, your father, everyone uses. So now when you have taken it, if it was previously employed, let's say your father was using it or your brother was using it, and now when you take it to come to this class, then there's an opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost will be the amount of work your father can't get done, or maybe the movie that your brother or sister can't watch from this laptop. Yeah, then there's an opportunity cost. But if it was unemployed, then there is no opportunity cost. Yeah, so that is that story. Set opportunity cost zero situations. Fine. Okay, done. Okay, I'm coming to. Here's any questions that I missed that I did not talk about. International trade, yes, I did. Cost, I did. Okay, in WhatsApp there is two questions. Others also, if you all have questions, I can't find any other questions. If you all have, can you all please send? Yes, you all can unmute and speak also. This is just now clear. Two questions. What are the numbers? Question. You have question number. You are talking about 2 and 3. Or 1 and 2. 3. Okay. Not a common characteristic of human capital and physical capital. Not a common characteristic. Mobility across industries. Okay. involves the development of factor productivity, a result of an investment, and create a flow of income, animated nature. Not a common characteristic. Mobility, okay. What is mobility across industries? Maybe okay, all three. No, okay, so we'll start with third one. Not a common characteristic of human and physical capital. Mobility across industries means you can use it in different places. Now, if you take human capital, it's the knowledge and skills that people have. So maybe yes, you can use in different industries, and also physical capital, let's say machines. So maybe yes, you can use one machine in this industry. You can use it for another industry also. Fine. So maybe that is a common characteristic. Involves in the development of factor productivity. Yes, the more this thing you have through human capital, your factor productivity improves. Through physical capital, does your factor productivity improve? Questionable, but maybe to some extent you can say yes. A result of an investment. Physical, that's more like physical capital, but human capital, that is not, it's not a result of an investment really, right? It's the training, the knowledge and stuff. No investment. Remember, I spoke about the relationship between savings, investments and capital, right? The more there is savings, there'll be investments. So when there's investments, there will be capital. To some extent you can argue that there is a human capital part also, but that is more into physical capital. Can create a flow of income. I'll say both of it can create a flow of income. That's a common. The proper common ones I have from these two is this is common. This is common. Animated nature, I'm not very sure whoever who made this paper is referring to. I also have never come across this word. Do you have the answer for this question? These probably, guys, these are things that come from the internet, right? They copy and paste from the internet from here and there. I also have not come across this term of animated nature. Animated nature. Maybe if they're referring to animated nature, maybe if the meaning of that is right, that it is something man-made, right? Then maybe that could be the answer, right? So development factor productivity to some extent, right? Animated, could it mean mobility? I don't know what really. Maybe animated, they're talking about that it's man-made. Maybe that is what they're saying, like an animation made by man, kind of. If that is the meaning, that could be the answer, right? But I don't know these words these teachers use. Development in the factor productivity. Now, human capital definitely yes involves in factor productivity. Physical capital also to some extent you can say, right? Now, for example, let's say a printer, right? Earlier you had a useless printer, right? Physical capital, but now you have upgraded that printer, right? So now let's say you have a faster printer, right? So when you have upgraded the physical capital, now you can print faster, no? So productivity could have improved. So to some extent you can say, okay, these are also common capital. Then as a result of an investment, so you can say physical capital, definitely yes, there is an investment, right? Human capital, you can say that you are investing money in training and development, you are investing money into providing education to people. Then you can maybe say that, right? Now I don't know what the examiner really means here, right? Whoever who said the paper would have had different things in mind, but don't worry guys, I don't think you all will get questions like this, right? So maybe if animated nature means man-made, then that could be the one that is not a common characteristic. Don't, yes, again I'll tell you this right now. In general, when you all are doing questions and papers, guys, mainly stick to your past papers, right? After you do your past papers, after you're done with all your past papers, let's say you do from 2021, sorry, 2011 to 2021. If you're done with that, right, then go from, let's say, 2002 to 2010, right? So make sure that you're properly okay with that 20 years of past papers, right? After that, even after that, what if you don't have questions, then guys you can go into these school papers and do this. Because one thing I'll tell you guys, most of these school papers sometimes, right, one, it is out of syllabus, it's not there. Number two, sometimes the English and the answers are wrong, right? So then when you study something, when the answer is wrong, guys, you tend to believe that then you put it into your head, make any maybe this is happening this way, right? So don't go there. now itself when you're this thing, right? So make sure that you do your whatever model papers, school papers that you have, leave it aside. First, make sure you're thorough with your past papers, guys, right? So make sure you're 2011 to 2021 first. If you're fully 100% okay with that, then do the old papers. That's enough, right? And then all the others also we discuss in the fast track, and these kind of papers can sometimes without answers and without anything, it's sometimes very hard, right? You struggle, sometimes you don't know what is happening. Yeah, so be very mindful. Okay, here question one, which is the diagram is a production possibility front of a certain economy. What is the economic concept demonstrated by it? So they're showing scarcity here. It's related to microeconomics, normative statement, positive statement, macroeconomics, economic efficiency. So scarcity is a microeconomic thing, right? It's a microeconomic concept. So point A, there is scarcity. So you can say question number one is answer number one. Okay. And then question number two says following information related to production possibility frontiers of economy, which produces only two goods, X and Y. The opportunity cost of Y in terms of X. Opportunity cost of producing one more Y. Produce one more Y, you have to give up 2 units of X. Yeah. So this is again not in your syllabus, guys, but teach you how this works, right? Now see, you have an equation here. You have an equation X equals 50 minus 2Y. So let's say you produce 1 unit of Y. So if you produce 1 unit of Y, how many X can you produce? 50 minus 2 into 1. You can only produce 48 X. If you produce 2 units of Y, put it to that equation. Then 50 minus 2 into 2, right? That is 4. So then 46. Yeah. So 3 units of Y. That is how it works. Yeah. So that's that thing. So again, not really in your syllabus, guys. These equations we don't study. Right. You can use a little bit of common sense and see. So every time you're increasing the production of Y, how much of X do you have to give up? It's this, right? This minus 2. So your answer will be that 2 units of X. Say fine. Questions? Right. Any other questions, guys? Anything that I missed? No? Logic behind interest being returned for capital. Now, usually we talk about this, there is no real logic behind it, right? But now, usually when you refer to capital, you talk about, now in economics, yes, you don't say money is not capital, but usually when you say capital, right, in general, you refer to money, you refer to, the what, the investments you make, that, right? So usually the return that you get for money by investing or something is the interest. So that is how that word came in, right? So that is that. 2 questions. Okay, economic systems 8 and 9. There's others also. If you have questions, guys, you all can ask. A lot of people are clarifying their doubts. Okay, question 8 and 9, economics. Okay, consumer sovereignty. What is consumer sovereignty? Where the consumer is the most important person, no? Where the, what is produced all is based on what the consumer wants. So in that context, consumer sovereignty occurs when private economic resources are allocated completely based on price signals, when competitive market prices are determined as per consumer requirement, or when the government rationing private properties among alternative users in the maximum that it is allocated by a competitive market only to produce goods that are useful. Created by price mechanism, produce only consumer goods. Okay, not number 5. That is not consumer sovereignty. Where the government rationing private properties among the alternative users in a way that maximizing satisfaction. This is also not consumer sovereignty. By competitive markets only produce goods that useful people, but market price determined as per consumer requirement. Right. Resources are completely based on price. I feel one could be a better answer. Determined as prices are determined as per consumer requirements located by competitive market. 1, 2, and 4 all look somewhat okay. Do you have the answer for this? Is there a better answer that comes? I'm not very sure. They're saying 1 looks like the thing, but then to some extent you can argue 2 and 3 is also correct. But based on price signals, so price signals here means based on demand and supply, right? So based on demand and supply, they are allocating the resource. So only if goods have a proper demand, right? That is what they do. But this is not really the meaning of consumer sovereignty. But yet, since they are saying they are not, the question is worded consumer sovereignty. They are not saying consumer sovereignty is this. No, they're saying consumer sovereignty occurs because of something like this, right? So maybe you can say to some extent 1 is all right. But then again, remember what is consumer sovereignty? Consumer sovereignty, where is the consumer is the main person, right? So what the consumer wants is what the whatever firms and anyone will produce, what the consumers want. So unless there is a demand for it, unless people want it, the firms will not produce. Even that is a good that will give a benefit to the consumers. If they don't want it, the firms will not produce. That is what consumer sovereignty. Then your next question is the following economic system is formed based on economic liberty and equal distribution. Equal distribution, definitely not a liberal market. Not a liberal market. Guessing the answer is, are you sure that the answer is 2? Market system says 2. Let's say it's not liberal market. Okay, liberalist is like the private sector, right? So not this, not definitely capitalist. Right now, capitalist and liberal market economies are all market ways. That's private sector, so you don't have any equal distribution, right? So in that context, yeah, so should be social market. Remember, I explained Sri Lanka social market context, right? It's more like a market economy, right? So it's based on economic liberty. Liberty in the sense it means where they don't want the government involved, right? That is what liberalists say, yeah. So economic liberty in the sense is where it's a market economy that is function, right? So mainly a market economy, but the government intervene to promote social justice, right? So to make sure there's equal distribution in case there is what they give pensions to the poor people, they give some of the benefits to the poor people, they charge taxes, right? To make sure there's equal distribution. So it's more like a social market. Now, communists will not have economic liberty. Economic liberty is like the freedom, right? Where they don't want the government involving, and you don't want that. You want your liberty, you want your freedom, right? So communist is definitely government run. So there is no liberty there, right? And then even a socialist market is more like a command economy, yeah. So there is no economic liberty there in both of these situations. So therefore, you can go with number 5. Ship. Fine. Okay, there's 2 more questions. Hold on. Okay, how does each of the following developments affect the production possibility boundary in a simple economy which produces only 2 goods? Okay, so these are easy. Any questions in this? Adoption of new technology in industry X. So you have, let's say, X and Y, right? So you were like this. Now, if X has new technology, only for X, the PPC will shift to the right? So productivity of X is increased. That's number 1. Increase in inflow of foreign investment into the economy. So if foreign investment increases, now you have more capital, right? Maybe more factories, more production, more machines, right? So your PPC will shift to the right in general. So they're saying the economy, right? So PPC will shift to the right because your capital increases, factor endowment increases. Rise in labor productivity in Y industry following the training of workers. So you have, let's say, X and Y, right? So Y industry, they have provided training. So the PPC will shift to the right only in the Y industry, right? Because their productivity is increased. Okay. Damage to economic infrastructure due to civil war. So if there is a war and your structure, it means your capital has decreased, factor endowment fallen. PPC will shift inward. A recession causing a decline in national output. Recession, how do you show? It creates a temporary unemployment situation, right? I explained in the unit. So it's a point moving in. Easy things, guys. Yes, you'll attempt, in case you're struggling with it, come and ask me, right? You go through your answer, see how it is, and then let me know. Okay, illustrate the following developments using a PPC. Economic grew by 50%. Now, for example, you can give numbers, guys, here. So you can say earlier they can only produce 100 units of this and 100 units of this. But now, because of economic growth, the PPC has shifted. Now they can produce 150 and 150, right? So 50% economic growth. So you can put numbers like that and you can show. Okay. An economy is able to consume bundle of goods lying beyond its production possibility boundary to the exchanging international market. So you can show something like this. So you can show this is the PPC, right? But then because of international trade and all of it, let's say you can consume something like this. You have a CPC, right? Now this again connected to unit number 9. So maybe you can draw straight line PPCs, right? And then draw CPC like this, right? So you can say PPC consumption possibility curve. You can say the economic and consumer at this point. You can show something like that. Yeah, if they've given a time period, yes, you can say so you can say this is in 1990, this is 1999. That's okay, but this 50% part is what they will mainly check. Okay, a situation where opportunity cost of production rise up to a point and remains constant thereafter. Opportunity cost rise up to a certain point. Can you check the answer? Is it something like this, where it's concave halfway and then it's a straight line? Do you have the answer? It rises up to a certain point, right? So up to a point, I think it's something like that, right? A situation where opportunity cost rises up to a certain point, right? So up to a point, it's increasing opportunity cost, right? After that, your PPC is constant. It's a straight line. Yes, so if you draw your paper, this is constant PPC, this is increasing opportunity cost, right? So you can say one part of it is increasing, after that it's constant, something like that. That's part number 3. Little unusual questions, not very common ones. Sip, yes. Questions, issues? Is anything else that I've missed that you all want to clarify? The first one. So economic growth is like this. Now, what is economic growth? Economic growth is where your PPC is shifting, right? Now here they're saying 50% increase. So how are you going to show the 50%? You have to put some numbers there. So let's assume earlier with the amount of resources maximum you can produce 100x and 100y, right? Now because of economic growth, you can produce 150x and 150y. So you can say it has grown by 50%. That's how you can show a 50% increase. Because now if you just shift the PPC, that can be any number. Yeah, that's that. How does imports and exports affect PPC? Now, not really exports, but imports, right? So the more you import, right, when your imports increase, now let's say you're importing machines, you're importing new different stuff like that. So then your PPC will shift out, right? Because why? You have more capital, you know? PPC will shift out. Export doesn't really affect that. It's your imports that affect PPC. Okay. Questions? Anything else? Is anyone else's questions that I missed, guys? Shape by all unit 1 experts now, 100 out of 100 people for unit number 1. There is 30 marks on offer in your paper. Yes, please make sure that right on your end. Okay, now remember unit number 1 has 30 marks from your paper. Okay, so you all know there is around 4 to 6 MCQs. There is 1 essay question, right? So what you can do, guys, is do all the past papers from this unit, right? You look at the past paper, check the answer, right? You correct it, right? So you start with, let's say, 2011 to until 2021, right? After you're done with that, maybe if you have from 2002, because if anyone has papers or PDF versions of these old papers, can you all send it on the group? I don't have a PDF version. I have like a whole book. I can't take pictures of like 200 pages and send. So in case anyone has a PDF version, can you all just share it on the group so anyone can benefit? So 2002 to 2010, those papers also have questions. Please trust me, guys, there is no other real question, right? if you have logically understood, right, all the questions, if you have done all the past papers, okay, now, okay, one thing, see, you can't get 100 out of 100, right? There will be something that you have not learned in the paper, that is natural, guys, right? Now, even me, as a teacher, even if I still go and write your A-level paper, I will not get 100 out of 100. There'll be something from somewhere they'll put that is out of the syllabus. So, that's a little bit of general knowledge. So, maybe a confusing question, because in general you think in that angle, but the examiners thought in other angle. So there are questions like that, right? Now that can't be avoided. So make sure that at the end, right, even if you're getting a 90, it's 180 out of 200, right? So there is 20 marks that you can still lose. If you're getting an A 75, it's 150 out of 200. There's 50 marks that you can lose. This 50 marks is after anyway, in your second paper, after anyway omitting all the questions that you don't know, right? Because you have a choice. From the questions that you know also, it's only 50 marks that you're going to lose. Okay. The private property thing, I will send you this thing, right? I'll send you the what recording of Beyond the Classroom. It's there in detail. Because others, I'll take another 20 minutes to explain that. I'll upload the recordings soon. It's there in one of the questions. Just check, there is a A-level paper, right? A-level past paper, part number paper 2, 2000, I think 15, 16 or something. There is a question number 1. There is a part that says private property. 16. So once I upload the recordings, check for the paper 2 where I'm explaining that. It should be there. Okay. Trade-off and opportunity cost is not really the same. Trade-off means you're giving up something, right? So because of a trade-off, you can say an opportunity cost is created. Trade-off means you're sacrificing, you're making a choice. That is what trade-off is, right? Now, for example, right now for coming for this class, what are you trading off? Maybe some of you all are sleeping, some of you all maybe this is the time that you all are studying. Most of you all, I'm guessing, it's sleeping. Is anyone who usually doesn't wake up in the morning, but he specifically woke up and came in the morning? And I'm also, these days, I'm not a morning person. These days, I'm also, I also wake up, I stay until around, I don't know, I usually stay until around 3 in the morning and then sleep until a little late. But then yesterday, given that we had the class, I made sure at least I sleep by around 1 o'clock, because otherwise I will not wake, right? So I sleep at around 1, and then I kept around 4-5 alarms, and I made sure that my phone is not silent also. So in case I fall asleep, at least someone of you all will call me, and I would wake up here. I took all those measures only, and I went to sleep. Even at 1 o'clock, I didn't fall asleep. I was just with my phone messing around. I fell asleep at around 2, but I somehow came around 5:30. The alarm rings, and I woke up and came. Okay. Right. Anything else, guys? Questions? Anything that's bothering you all? Shape? Yeah. Yeah. So general things, right? Now, general things on your end. Okay, I'll tell you all this. Okay, few mistakes that people make is, like I said before, one, you can't get 100 out of 100, right? So even when I was writing A levels, even now, right, you can't score 100 out of 100, right? Because that is impossible. So forget about that, right? There will definitely be things that you don't know, guys. That's okay, right? You focus on the things that are possible. Don't worry about, sir, there was a question like this, I don't know how to do this. That's fine. Focus on all the questions that you can do, right? So make sure that first you do your past papers, right? Your past papers are done properly, right? Your 2002 to 2021, right? Now that is more than enough, guys. And that, and also in addition to all those who join the fast track with all our fast track mock exams, there's nothing else that they can get. Even after that, if you still have some time to spare, then maybe look into school term exams and all these other model papers, fine. Because trust me, those have mistakes, guys, especially English medium papers, right? Because English medium papers are usually translated from Sinhala. Now, even that previous question one of you all showed me, right? This one, right? This whole animated nature and all, right? What would have happened is, this should have been a Sinhala paper that was translated to English. So whoever the joker who is translating it, right, maybe use Google Translate or Mukakkari, and they don't put the proper terms, right? So maybe if you have the same Sinhala version in this, maybe the proper meaning is there. So that is a big problem that you see in English medium papers, guys, right? So in English medium papers, what mainly happens is that case, right? So make sure that you all are somewhat sorted with those, make sure your past papers are, because past papers don't have mistakes like that, guys. They don't have translating mistakes or anything. So do your past papers. Once that is done, then if you still have time, according to fast track, if you're following, you will not have time because we have so much of work. Coping up with that will be hard. But if you still find some time, then fine, look into these papers, guys. Right? So don't make this your first priority at any point. My fast track mock exam is not unit wise. So how we will have mock exams in the fast track is something like this, right? So fast track, we will have 12 mock exams, right? So in month one, right? So how the mock exams will work, month one, the fourth week of this month, right? We will have a mock exam from unit 1 to 3. That's when I say mock exams means it's 50 MCQs, 10 essay questions, right? Like your A-level paper. Then month 2, not week 1, week 4, again we have a mock exam from unit 4 to 6. Month 3, you have a mock exam from 7 to 9. Month 4, you have a mock exam from 10 to 12, right? And then overall mock exams, right? That is the mock exam 5 to mock exam 12. That will be from all the units. Yeah, that is like your A-level paper, exact A-level paper. So at the very beginning, we do unit-based ones, right? Right now we are doing unit-based papers every week. So a mock exam is a bigger version of that, right? So, and then 8 mock exams, that is the minimum that we will do. In case A-levels is postponed a little, this overall mock exam part will increase. Yeah, that is what will happen. So that is the plan for now. Anything else, guys? Can resources be utilized in the production process either with or without opportunity cost? Yes, resources can be utilized. No? Now, same thing there, right? Now, same thing with a PPC, right? So, for example, if you are utilizing your resources here and now it has gone here, now you're utilizing your resources without an opportunity cost, right? So, if you are already utilizing your resources fully and now you're moving from here to here, now you're utilizing your resources with an opportunity cost. So yes, resources can be utilized with or without an opportunity cost, right? So if it's without opportunity cost, that means the resources were previously unemployed. Then if you're utilizing it without an opportunity cost. But if you had this fully utilized, then you're utilizing it with an opportunity cost. Okay, guys. So in general, I think this is probably the last day that I'll meet all of y'all who are joining for the fast track as a trial, right? My only motive was to make sure that you're at least expert with unit number 1 by now, right? So unit number 1 carries 30 marks, guys, from your A-level paper. So we did the normal recap. We did a paper on it, so I cleared all your doubts on it. That is what will happen for all the other units as well. That's the whole plan, and then overall mock exams plan wise, I'm not going to talk about. You all know that. So in case any of you all are interested or your friends are interested in joining, just let me know a little beforehand, because I need to get your tutes printed, guys. These days it takes a lot of time to print tutes because of shortages of paper and ink and all of it. It takes some time, and again, then couriering it also is a bit of hassle these days because of the curfew that is going, right? So just let me know beforehand. Yes, some of you all know, I know that you all got the tute, right? Guys, if you all do pay, and guys, also this guys, I get a lot of messages from my bank that payments have come, but no one has sent me the slip, guys, right? So remember, when you all make the payment, you're supposed to send the slip to 2 numbers. One is mine and one is the admin, and you're also supposed to fill a Google form, right? So you're supposed to do all 3. Send it to me, the admin, and the Google form, right? And then we will add you to the group. And just check, guys, if you have paid the monthly fee, check whether you have been added to a separate group, not the economics fast track week 1. There is one called W1. That's the one everyone is joining as a trial, not that group. Are you there in a separate normal group? There's around 60 people now, right? So check if you are in that group, right? If you have paid the fees and registered. So those things, guys, I don't think you all might miss, but please look into those. In case you all are joining, you or your friend or anyone is joining, just let me know a little beforehand so I can get the tutes printed. Now I ordered another 15 tutes to get printed, so in case someone more is coming, just let me know. Yeah, so if there's no other questions, we can wrap things up. Or if anyone has any other things in general, if you all want to talk about, we can talk about those as well. So guys, again, I was having a chat with one person with other subjects also, business studies, accounting, just a general. I'm not the expert there, but I'll just tell you as a student what I did to get an island rank there. Accounting guys focused on past papers. It's all about question practice, right? So what you do is study one chapter, right? Let's say company accounts, right? You study the company accounts, let's say your class notes or whatever things, and then what you do is start doing your past papers, guys. At a stretch, do 10 questions, right? So you start with 2000, let's say 11 company accounts sum, right? You do it, you correct your mistakes, see whatever that was wrong, you mark it, always mark it, right? You mark it, see what are your mistakes, learn from it, do 2012, right? Maybe you find new areas that you make mistakes, you correct those mistakes. So likewise, little by little by little, when you do around 5 6 questions, guys, all the mistakes that you generally make is already solved, right? So then when you do the, let's say the 2020 paper or the 21 paper, you make very less mistakes. So the more and more questions you practice, the better you get. And also, guys, have a time frame, right? Like in economics, I would say your time frame, if your exam is in October, by let's say end of August, right? By the end of August, you should have studied the whole syllabus, and you should have finished all the past papers, right? Have that target. So even the fast track, that's a target. So last 2 months, we do mock exams. So by August, your plan has to be that you have covered the entire syllabus, you have finished doing all the past papers. So after that last 2 months, you only do papers, right? You don't study and you don't go through tudes brand new, and you don't do that. So have a plan that way. Now, even business studies, right? So if you're not that great with as a theory person, if you're not a person who can, sit and study and all of it, right? You can make short notes. That I think I would have shown that to some of my students. I have 1 or 2 short notes that I made when I was doing A levels. Let me see if I can find a picture. I sent it to one person. Okay, so I'll just show you this. So this is one of the short notes that I made for one of the business studies units, right? You all have HR. No, I think you all have the same units, no? HR, marketing, finance, the grade 13 syllabus. I was not a person that can sit and study theory, no, right? I can't sit in one place and read a tute and study theory. That doesn't make sense. Now, econ made sense because it's logical, right? Now, business studies was a very boring subject for me. So if you want to make it more interesting, right? If you want to remember this theory and if you're doing that, maybe you can go into short notes. Now, something like this, guys, it takes around 2 days to make, right? It's not something that you can finish off. So this is like what I do is first you get an overall picture about the unit and then you summarize the unit. So I have combined 2 A4 sheets, right? And I made that. So the whole unit is there in 2 A4 sheets. So the moment you make something like this, guys, it automatically gives you confidence, right? That you have studied the unit, that you know the unit now, right? So, and then every week, right, take like 15 minutes or something and go through that note, guys. So automatically, if you do that for the next 3 4 months, right, automatically that whole thing is in your head, guys, right? So the next 3 4 months, you would have read this short note around 15 20 times. Yeah, so it's there. So you study a unit like that, right? You make your, it's up to you guys. You can be creative and you can do your notes. This is what I did in my book. That's to make your studying a little bit more interesting. And BS also, we tend to forget things, right? Easily we memorize things and go and forget. That's because we have not understood. So what you all can do is, if there are small concepts that is there in your business studies thing and that you all don't understand, Google those, guys. Google those and read a little bit more about that. Then that comes into your head, guys. When you logically understand, now, for example, let's say I don't know some concept, some nonsense concept. Okay, so let's say, okay, re-exporting. Right now, you all have knowing this trade and re-export. What I don't know, one I remember. Yeah. So let's say, okay, you don't know what re-export is. Yeah. So then Google a little about re-export. Read about that. Right. So maybe then whatever that you understand next, maybe in your note, it's only the word is there. There is no explanation. Maybe write a small explanation next to it. Then you remember stuff, guys. Like maybe they are not going to ask you to write a 4 mark question about re-export, but for you to remember that, that goes a long way. So make your studying more interesting, right? Now, maybe if the only thing that you're doing to study business studies is just having your book quote and just reading it and highlighting it, try to make it a little bit more interesting. Try to maybe have a set of let's say a paper and a few colored pens and make a short note. Have your laptop in front of you and search for certain concepts, right? Search for the meaning of certain concepts. Read a certain concept. Keep your phone aside, though. Don't do this in your phone. You try to search things on your phone, you end up doing something else, right? So maybe keep your phone aside, your laptop or your tab or whatever that you have. But if you have discipline, you can use your phone, but otherwise maybe keep your laptop in front of you, right? So keep your phone away for an hour. You have your tute, have your laptop in front of you. You go through, guys. There is no hurry. No, you don't have to, within 1 hour finish the entire unit. No, right? Little by little, you go through, guys, right? And then if you're good at maybe typing and stuff, maybe you can make your notes on a Word document, right? I used to do that also at one point because find different ways to study, guys. If your normal studying pattern is not working, if it's not effective, right? That has to come from you. Maybe teach your friends, right? That also helps you to what uh remember stuff. Yes, guys, you can make your own study plan for business studies and even accounting, right? So maybe you can base it based on the accounting and change it because the number of lessons and the weightage are different. So you can't apply the same thing for uh BS what as I have given for econ, but change it, guys. So that's up to you all, right? You all need to be the batch that doesn't give excuses, guys. Remove that mindset of excuses, right? The moment you remove that, you all do great, right? Because otherwise, all what is sir, no, sir, economic crisis, sir, power cuts, sir, I couldn't go to class, sir, COVID, sir, school did not teach, sir. Remove that attitude, right? The moment you remove that attitude from your life, right? Say that, I don't care what happens around. I am going to get this done. Right? Now, come on, guys. You all are not a generation now. Even if you look at all those who were there in my theory and division class, we started 2 years ago. And from the very first class, you have all the recordings, right? So there is no excuse saying COVID-19 came, oh, sir, I had a sports meet and missed class. So I was a prefect, I had duty and I missed class. No, right? So every single recording for 2 years is available, right? So you can't come and say, no, sir, I missed it. Now that technology is made available, guys. Your teachers would have done that for you, right? And then there is YouTube, there is Google, there is Zoom meeting. Now in nowadays, when you miss, we also had Google and YouTube, but when we let's say miss a physical class, there is no way of catching up, guys. If you have missed that in school, if you have missed that in class, it's gone, right? So then the only source is trying to watch on YouTube or Google and asking a friend or something like that. That was the thing. You can't miss a 2 hour class and go and ask the teacher to explain the 2 hour thing again. We did not go for individual classes. We did not even have in basic context, we did not even have the teacher's contact number, right? Phone numbers we don't have. It's a class where we go with around 200, 300 people. You sit in the back row and wait, right? Teacher teaches something, you figure out something that is there, it's done, right? So on your end, guys, you all are way more advanced there, right? With online classes and even all of it, right? You can focus alone, you have the recording, you have, every possible luxury there, right? So in one way, you all are very lucky. So make sure that you're not the batch with the excuses, guys, right? Cut the excuses, trust me, you will do good. It's all about your attitude, right? If you can change your attitude, if you can think, look, I'm going to somehow get this done. I only have 6 months left, right? Trust me, guys, this 6 months will change your life, right? Will change where you will end up going to uni, which will change what you will do in your future, right? Now let's say you do basic, maybe, right, your option will be go to a private institute. Maybe you do good, maybe you might have a maybe a scholarship abroad, or maybe you will have a chance to get into a local university. After you go there, then the whole thing is changed, guys, right? How the pathway that a private university guy takes and a pathway that a local university guy takes is totally different, right? The exposure to everything. Private university, he'll finish it in 2 or 3 years, he'll start working somewhere, right? But the degree is not that recognized, it's somewhat okay, it's a little easy. A local university guy, he will build a huge network around, right? And then, yes, it might take a little bit more long time, his pathway is different. So this 6 months, right, will change your entire life, right? Will change the path that you take, right? Which degree you're gonna do, which area you're gonna specialize in, right? So make sure that you work hard in these 6 months, guys. Don't make sure that I don't know. I am not coming from a very rich background either, right? So not that my father or my family has very multiple sources of income. It's the only source of income that is there is my father is working. There's the money that is coming in from that's the only source. But so I know some of most of you all that must be the context. But some of you all, yes, maybe your fathers are also well educated and they're in good positions, yes. But I'll accept my father is not, right? He's not a very educated person. No, he's only done basic. He's done A levels. That's all, right? But if you are to come out of that thing, right? If you are to take your family to the next level, right? You need to do something. You need to be that change, and that change has to happen within these 6 months. If it doesn't happen, you're too late, right? I'm not saying you need to go to a local university. I'm not saying you need to do that, right? But in this 6 months, if you can sacrifice and if you can work, then your options are wide, right? You have a lot of options later. When your A-level results come, you can either go to a local institute, you can go abroad, you can do this. You have all your options open, right? So get there, guys. After that, whether you go to a local university or not, that is your option, right? So trust me, these 6 months can definitely make a change in your life, right? So invest in it, right? Go to a proper class. Don't miss your classes. If you missed it, watch your recordings, right? Maybe this 6 months you can cut off your, unwanted Facebook and Instagram scrolling and cut off those guys, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many memes you have seen on Facebook or Instagram or which girl's picture did you like or which girl's picture did you comment. Oh, it's not that, right? It's no one's gonna come and talk, and also your term exam marks or anything, right? They're not gonna come and talk about your term exam marks. So they're gonna say, oh, this guy posted a nice selfie, or he posted this much of pics, he got this much of likes, he was always online. No, they're not gonna say that, right? At the end, what are they gonna come and say if you messed up? Are they gonna say, no, this generation had power cuts and this generation had COVID, then their school teachers did not finish syllabus? They're not gonna come and say that, guys, right? People are just gonna come and point fingers at you and at your parents and say, look here, okay, this guy has been playing the fool from day one. Look what he has done. That is what is going to happen, right? And that becomes a bad remark on your parents as well, right? That becomes a bad remark on your parents. Look at these people, how they bought this fellow up, right? That is what they're going to say. So make sure that doesn't happen, guys. That's your responsibility. On my end, I can only do the teaching. I can't do the studying for you, right? I will give you study plans. I will tell you what I have done. I will tell you what to do. Doing it is up to you, right? So on my end, I can only guide you. I can't sit and study with you, right? So trust me, guys, even if you were the stupidest person during O levels, even with 1A or 2As or any stupidest thing, even if you don't know English, you can change it within the 2 years of A levels, and especially during the last 6 months, right? Because I had friends who was at 1 or 2 As for O levels who ended up with island ranks for A levels. So if you're with the bullshit, no, sir, I'm generally things don't go into my head, right? I'm not that smart, right? I can't. What maths is not my thing. I can't do calculations. That is your excuses you give to satisfy yourself, right? If you really want to get it done, you can get it done. I mean, accounts or econ, guys, you don't have complex maths, no, guys, right? It's basic, normal addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, right? That is what you have. So if you can't get that done, guys, then there is a problem, right? So the more you practice, the better you will get at it. So that has to happen on your end, right? So that's what we would focus on the next 6 months as well, right? So for those who will not be continuing in the fast track, have a proper plan, guys. Don't let your parents down, don't let yourself down, right? For those who are continuing on econ side, I'll help you all as much as possible. Other subjects, I'll give you all some general advice, but make sure your other subjects are also sorted and that it is done and dusted, right? So invest in this 6 months, your time, your money, your effort, and everything. You reap the benefits out of it someday in the future. Yeah. Yeah, try for a foreign scholarship. I got a foreign scholarship, but I did not go. My parents did not really want me to go because of like then there is no male at home. Then my mother and two sisters will have to stay alone. So I did not go. So yeah, that is basically it. Anyone else guys questions? Right. Final advice: no excuses. Work hard, get it done. And the fact that you have woken up at 6 and come for this class means a lot, right? That means you're ready to sacrifice and that you're ready to work. That is a right attitude to continue that, guys. Yeah. Is that your question, guys? If I've missed a question, can you resend the question because it would have gone somewhere? Question from me. If you know nothing about economics, I will say fast track is not the program. Maybe you can purchase my theory class recordings. That is more detailed. That is per unit. I have done around 8 classes. Now here I finished one unit in 3 hours, right? So that is there. So what you know, the units that you don't know, maybe you can purchase theory class recordings and catch it up that way. That is more in detail explained and stuff like that. Now, if you have some idea about the unit, then the fast track is the program. If you're completely blank, if you have not done it in school, not done it in class, don't know anything, then fast track will be a little hard, guys. Yeah, because I need to be genuine. I don't want to get someone who doesn't know anything into this, and then it's a waste of your money, and you also don't understand. That's up to you. Yeah, and the problem is again, by this time you can't be someone who doesn't know anything. See if you can do something, right? Something has to happen within these days. So yeah, I'm guessing that's all the questions that you all have. So good luck and all the very best. Probably I will meet during Beyond the Classroom, the past paper class on Wednesday. That's it with the fast track week 1. And do well. Make your parents proud. That's all. See you guys. Bye bye and have a good day ahead. See you. Bye. Welcome.